Her work on menstruation has been unique in its efforts of unearthing the ancient science behind the native menstrual practices and bringing forth a narrative which is the Bharatiya perspective on menstruation. She is the co-founder and managing trustee of Mythri Speaks and also works with the Forward Foundations. She started her work in the developmental space as a part-time volunteer in 2009, gradually took up the leadership roles on various issues such as healthcare, women's health and safety, action research on native sciences and culture, rural development and urban civic issues such as waste management and lake rejuvenation. These are the overview of all the work spanning the last decades. Mythri Speaks since November 2014. She is the co-founded Mythri Speaks and registered trust which works on issues pertaining to women and children as well as rural development and urban development. Women and child issues. First one, she undertaken actions research on subject of cultural practices around menstruation and science behind it over a period of 8 years. She published the books Women and Sabrimala in November 2019, following a 3-year study on the Sabrimala issue. The second book she published was Ritu Vidya in October 2020 as a culmination of decade-long research and worked on menstrual health and practices. Nutan ma'am always recommends this book in her lectures regularly. She initiated a comprehensive study on the menstrual health of women in Karnataka, covering 1,557 women and girls across 4 districts in 2016. She represented India as a key panelist in 2015 International Conference on Menstrual Health and Reproductive Justice in Boston. She has been a 3-time TEDx talks on subject of menstruation. She co-created the animated film Mythri on the subject of menstrual hygiene for adolescent girls and translated the same in 9 Indian languages. The film is available free of cost and is used by NGOs and UNICEF as well as government to impart awareness on the menstrual hygiene. It has reached over 10 million adolescent girls across government schools in India. Wow. So, today's talk is on menstrual practice, ancient culture and practices by Sinu ma'am. And now,
thank you so much, Maya, for such a nice start. And let me give warm welcome to Sinu ma'am. It is said that you just need to put your wish in the universe and all universe conspires to, get to meet that person which you wanted to meet from the heart. And Sinu ma'am, you are one of them. I always get inspired each and every time and I always follow you. And my student knows that you are all there in my all the courses. All the time I used to guide them, please buy that Ritu Vidya book, because you have connected menstruation and the science together. And Ayurveda mainly my topic, which I learned in my academic time, but many times it's difficult to convince people and socially introduce this subject in such a way which you have done it. Your work is commendable and I really appreciate that and can understand a lot of effort and things which you must have been gone through. What we see that the tip on iceberg here, and Sinu ma'am, especially your talk, I am starting 2022 events and all my courses. Thank you so much. Now over to you. Platform is yours.
Namaste, Hariom. Dhanyavad Nutanji, Mayaji for the very kind introduction. Am I audible? Thank you. It's nice to see that this is a close-knit group of women who have all come together to understand this subject. And since I'd like to hear from some of you, what are the questions that come to your mind when you think of cultural practices around menstruation? Maybe something your mother always told you to do, but you could never relate to it. Maybe something your grandmother has been doing, maybe something your friends have been doing. What are the things that you always held as questions, were never fully convinced about, and would like to discuss that today? If you would like to share a few of those questions, that will guide the talk that I will give after this interaction.
You can just raise hand so I can unmute you. Yes. Yes, Rividya.
Namaste. Sinuji, my challenge is for me is with my daughter. Like for me, I grew up in a very traditional environment, and we followed all the Rajaswala Paricharya, whatever we have learned of right from diet, 3 days sleeping separately, right from the utensils, keeping it separate. I followed all that, and like as a girl, when I in my growing up years, we were asked to follow, and I just followed whatever my parents said. We never questioned them in during our time. So, and I feel because for me, I believe in our tradition. So, and it was easy for our parents to, instill those values within us. Today, like my daughter is like she's 21. When I tell her to take rest, speak less, after doing Dr. Nutan's course, like, I also give her the reason, but then it's very challenging for they use a lot of intellect nowadays, girls, it's of course I understand they have got a lot of university work. Like my daughter will say, you tell me to sleep at 10 o'clock, you tell me don't do this, don't do that, but it's not possible, mommy, because I've got so much assignments to do and all. I do understand, but it is sometimes very challenging to convince them, like make them understand our traditions.
So what is your question to me, Srividya ji?
How do like this generation girls,
How do we
keeping
talk
in
to them?
mind, yeah, how do we convince them, like, keeping in mind their hectic schedule,
Okay.
their lifestyle, how we can, at least to some extent, they can follow the norms. That is, it's basically taking care of yourself during that 5 days period.
It's a very valid question and something that a lot of mothers need to figure out how they will do it. I'll definitely address that to the best of my knowledge. Thank you, Srividya ji. Anuradha ji, you have raised your hand. Would you like to ask?
Yeah, namaste, ma'am.
Namaste.
Yeah, I am an allopathic doctor, and I have 2 daughters, both are doctors. Now, my question to you is, first of all, I also did not believe in many things, but I have followed them as a tradition taught to me by my mother. First question for me is regarding the puja that we do, that during menstrual period, we are asked not to do puja. Second, not to touch the matka in which we keep water, and not to come in the kitchen and cook. These are 3 basic traditional questions that I need to know. Why? Why are we asked not to do it? Thank you, ma'am.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Thank you, Anuradha ji. I'll definitely answer those questions. Maya ji, would you like to ask next?
Yes, ma'am. We are told not to touch pickles during this period. Not to make pickles, not to touch them, and also eating less of salt during this period is recommended. Now, eating less of salt, I understood from Nutan ma'am from her lectures, but why should we touch them? They say kharab ho jayega. So that logic I'm not understanding. Secondly, we have this, okay, we won't touch the utensils or the prasad that is being offered to God. But we are told not to accept the prasad, which after the Naivedya is done, not to eat prasad, nahi lena hai. That also does not, I don't understand why we are not to eat that prasad. So these are some of my queries. Thank you, ma'am.
Very valid questions, Maya ji. I'll definitely try and answer those. Thank you. Khushbu Bharati ji, would you like to go next? Yes.
Yes, ma'am. Good morning, everybody. Okay, so my first question is like my mother always stopped me from watering plants. Like, don't water them, they'll die. So this was the most stupid thing that I thought why it is like that. Okay, the logical reason that I could derive was probably don't, work and it is a tedious job. Maybe that is why, but why will the plants die? Anyway, and second one would be that how to minimize, these strenuous work and the stress that we have nowadays in the modern life, that we have accumulated so many chores on ourselves. कि ये भी करना है, ये भी करना है. And it is not possible. Like I see my sister, she's working, she's doing PhD, and she has a family to look after. So I don't understand like how to minimize all of these things, like how to take rest, how to go back to those ancient practices. And one more, so I am a yoga teacher. I did my course with Nutan ma'am only 3 months back. So when I ask my students to start using white cloth so that they can understand the color of their period blood, and if there's any issues, they are not comfortable at all, because white cloth is I mean it's not comfortable for them, so that can't switch to that. So how to, yeah, I mean how to convince and how to tell them, make them understand and minimize the effect of how we have molded everything to marketing, because of the marketing gimmicks and all of that, or to make them understand. That is like one of my challenge here.
Thank you, Khushbuji. We will definitely discuss the questions that you have asked. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Thank you.
Noshina ji, would you like to go next?
Yes, ma'am. Namaste. I am Noshina. I'm a yoga teacher as well. And I have a couple of questions. One, I think most of them have asked. I'm not going to be specific. What I'm going to say is, like a lot of traditions which have been followed over the years, how is it relevant in today's time, like today's youngsters like us? What are certain things which make sense, which we should sort of we should follow? And like, for example, one thing which I used to find very weird when I was in my school, a lot of my friends who were they were treated in a not in a very good way when they used to be menstruating, where they would be kept in a different room, and literally even if they are hungry or something, the food would be just passed like that. So I didn't have any kind of restriction in my house. So I found that very weird. I understand where certain questions have come related to you can't work, maybe because there is tradition, so you need to rest. But why you are isolated in a way like untouchable? Let me use that word, because many of them were treated like untouchables. It was quite sad. And the entire house comes to know that you're menstruating, and there's a stigma attached to it. So how is that relevant in today's time where women are working? There is nuclear family. There is not even like a family setup where somebody can help you. You have to do everything for yourself. So how is that relevant? That's one question. Second question is related to menstruating. Like in today's day and age, a lot of doctors, gynacs, a lot of people say that using menstrual cups are better, because you're talking from the point of view of taking care of the environment, and the using sanitary napkin adds on to the plastic and all of that. So I understand as a yoga teacher, maybe because the apan vayu, the downward movement, is what it is related to menstruating. So if you're putting something up, whether it's a tampon, whether it's a menstrual cup, is that the reason where you don't recommend it? And how relevant is using a cloth in today's day and age? Because we are doing a lot of activity. I'm working out, I'm doing multiple things. I don't know how feasible and how comfortable compared to if I'm just sitting at home using a cloth. So that's one thing I won't be comfortable using. So that's my second question. Third question is, because I teach yoga ranging from corporates to students, I also teach kids. Now in today's day, I got my period when I was maybe 14, 15. A lot of kids are started their menstruation when they're just 10-year-old. And most of them, they started it while they are doing yoga with me. This is like literally the first, second, third month. So how I can address this topic of menstruation a little bit, while I'm teaching them and giving them some knowledge, which would be really beneficial for them, and certain cultural practice or something which would help kids who are very young and they have zero idea. They're just 10-year-old kids. Yeah. So those kind of, things which would really help them. I would love to add from my end some kind of value there. So yeah, that's about it. Thank you so much. Thank you.
For the questions, I've made a note. We'll definitely answer each of them.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Smita ji? Smita Pradhan ji? Yes, your hand is raised. Do you have some questions?
First of all, I would like to thank Dr. Nutan ma'am to Universe, because honestly, the day I had Ritu Vidya book with me, I had made a secret wish to see you, ma'am. And today is the day, so I cannot thank my stars enough. And my question is, recently I have started working with pregnancy line, because I have faced multiple miscarriages, and I want the women community to make them aware about all the practices in a holistic way. So I have also done a course from Nutan ma'am. So there we understood there is a link between menstruation and the future pregnancy. If the healthier is our menstruation, then our pregnancies will be more healthier going forward. So how to make the teenagers aware since from the starting or during the menstruating period, so that they will have the things in mind, so that during their pregnancy time or reproductive time, it will help them to track uh, like what is the healthier practices, or how we should make them aware to connect the menstruation and the future pregnancy they are going to face.
Thank you. That's a very important question. I'll definitely try and include that also. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Aarti ji, I think that will be the last question, and then I will start the discussions. Yes.
Good morning, ma'am. Good morning, Nutan ma'am. So my question is with respect to, people in physical activity in terms of sports, high intensity workouts, and practically maybe yoga also. So when we are menstruating, is it a good time for us to actually take that deep connection within ourselves by doing subtle practices? Or is it that we allow the body to go through that pain and still, pursue whatever is the passion that is lying behind that pain, that we feel that exercising gives you more and more prana, or it changes the kind of wavelength that you want to find in your daily life? So that is question one. And the second question in terms of diet. So generally, we don't really anticipate that we need to change the diet during menstruation. We continue with the normal food that we eat during our regular cycle time. And is there any connection before or after the cycle time that can also affect the menstrual blood? And the last one, ma'am, with respect to the ancient practices in terms of minarchy, we used to have one particular celebration, right? So even today, some of the cultural habits, actually do that celebration. But I want to understand, is that a very significant, period for the girl in terms of showing it to the world that, yes, this is the time of privacy, or this is the time that I have to share it with other people who may not, I may not be connected with them at all.
Okay. Well put. Thank you, Aarti ji.
Thank you. Thank you, Sinu. Thank you.
Okay. So let me begin. Nutan ji, may I begin?
Yes, ma'am. Platform is yours. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you all for very openly sharing your questions. That really helps me because I know who I'm talking to. And I also know that most of you have not read the book because if you had every one of these questions are answered at length, of course, I don't expect you to read it. That's why I'm here. So I will try my best to answer not just the questions, but also your emotions behind the questions, which I could not miss capturing. Also because today is the second day of my period and I would have liked to actually cancel this talk, but I gave Nutanji the date a month ago. So I thought, okay, let me anyway come and talk do a talk on menstruation when I am menstruating. So my energy may be a little different from the other talks. I generally don't talk during this time. So excuse me for that if it comes across as a little low on energy. Now, all the questions that you have asked are valid, and you must think along these lines. When we ask a question, it's very often that we don't just stop at the question. It is a very emotional thing for us, whether we are asking about our daughters, how to convince them. We've already decided that we have to convince them, how to convince. Or when we say that, no, these are not valid in today's time, so why should we still do it? We've already decided the answer to that question. We are not open-minded about it. Or when we say that, menarche celebration, should it be a private affair or should we go and announce to the world? Who are we deciding for? So one thing that we must all be aware of is that we have questions, yes, but somewhere in our mind, we've also decided the answers before fully exploring the reasons behind that practice or that question. So what we are going to do now, of course, I will share with you the science of it as I understand, both from the perspective of modern sciences as well as from the perspective of Ayurveda. But before we proceed any further, it is my request to you that you drop the emotion associated with the question. Okay? Drop the conclusion that your mind has already made. Just proceed as if you are a scientific researcher. You are just open-minded, you are just curious, and you are wondering about it like a child. Why do they sit in seclusion? Why does someone not touch them? Why do they celebrate the first period? Why are we told to eat something else? Let's just approach it with the enthusiasm that children would, without attaching judgment, emotions, or conclusions to it. All right, that's my request to you. If you can, proceed. Let's proceed like that with an open mind. Now, the first question that Sri Vidya ji had asked, the answer to that we will naturally arrive at the end of today's session. And the question was, how do we convince the next generation to do it? Because we have all done it. If I have to say in one line, I would say never convince anyone, but instead make people see the value in it by experiencing it. Today, when COVID happens, 2 years ago, when the first wave broke out, we all did things that we were never used to. We wore masks, we maintained social distance, we remained in lockdown. It's been almost 2 years. Who convinced us to do it? We did it because we thought it makes sense and it is good for us. It is the same with the menstrual practices. If we understand why they exist, then you don't need to go around convincing someone. And the best way, or rather I will say the most important way of understanding why it exists is by practicing it and then observing how that practice affects your menstrual health. If we don't do that, if we don't learn through pratyaksha anubhava, direct experience, no amount of theory will convince us. So the first thing today we are going to do, of course, today I'm only presenting a theory, but if you want to really understand what I'm saying, then do those practices, have a pratyaksha anubhava, and then you decide whether this practice suits you or not, or whether you should do it or not. And only when you have a direct anubhava of it, will you even know what to tell someone. It's not enough anymore to say that I did it, therefore you must. Or my grandmother did it and she told me and now you should be obedient and do it too. That's something that no longer holds value for our times. So instead, we should make an attempt to understand it. Let's start with the most difficult to understand phenomenon of menstrual seclusion. Why is it that in so many cultures, Menstruating women are told to sit separately, eat out of separate vessels, not come in close contact with others. And if someone does touch them, then that person has to go and take a bath. So why do these practices exist? Is it relevant? What was the reasoning behind it? Let me first explain through the lens of modern science, because that will be a language that most of us can relate to. Menstruation is that time when there is something different that happens in your body because of the hormones. We all know that. But what is not often discussed, and there are a few studies about this, which I have written in my book and it's cited in the book, is that menstruation is also the time when the body goes into what we call oxidative stress. This oxidative stress generally happens during cellular metabolism all the time. But then the body has natural antioxidants that make up for oxidative stress. So then even if the body goes into oxidative stress due to cellular metabolism, some natural antioxidant, in fact, saliva is an antioxidant. Your red blood cells, those have antioxidant properties. All these natural antioxidants make up for it. But during menstruation, the body is naturally losing blood. So the RBCs, which would act as antioxidants, are no longer the most active. And most importantly, the hormone estrogen. Estrogen is at an all-time low during menstruation. Estrogen is a natural antioxidant. During ovulation, also the body goes through oxidative stress, but during ovulation, estrogen is at its peak. So estrogen counters that oxidative stress. But during menstruation, oxidative stress is happening and there's no estrogen to counter it. Plus, you're losing blood, further throwing your body into the phenomenon of oxidative stress. Now, what exactly is oxidative stress and what does that have to do with someone touching you or not? Isn't it? So now I will make that connect. The human body, as far as modern science understands, the fundamental unit, which is smaller than the cell, what the cells are comprised of, are atoms and the molecules. What happens within an atom? Now, in the atom, in the center, you have the neutron and the proton, and around the atom, we have electrons. Electrons carry a negative electric charge. This is fundamentals of physics. And the nucleus is positively charged. As long as the positive charge in the center of the atom is equal to the negative charge of the electrons around the atom is stable. But what happens during certain cellular processes is that the electrons on the surface get knocked off the atom. Now the charge is equal, but a negative charge gets knocked off. What happens? The atom becomes positively charged. Now, when an electron gets knocked off and atom gains positively charged, it becomes very unstable. It is stable only when positive and negative charge is equal. But if electron goes off, it becomes very unstable. And when it is unstable, it will seek to stabilize itself by looking for a nearby atom to borrow its electron. So the unstable atom borrows an electron from the nearby atom. Now this one is stable, but what happens to the other atom? That becomes unstable, isn't it? So this process, if it keeps going on, one unstable atom borrows from the nearby, it becomes stable, but the other one becomes unstable. Then the unstable one again borrows from a neighboring atom. And if this process keeps going on, it results in what are called as oxidative stress. When the atom loses the electron, it becomes what we call a highly reactive, unstable free radical. Free radicals are responsible for all kinds of disease process within the body. And the way to handle it is by providing what we call an antioxidant. Antioxidants are substances that can give you an electron without itself becoming unstable. That's a wonderful thing, isn't it? Because otherwise, how do you stop this chain reaction? One after the other, atoms are becoming unstable. Who checks it? The antioxidant checks it. Now picture that during menstruation, one after the other, the atoms in the body are becoming unstable. The overall charge of the body is becoming positive because the body is losing electrons. And the natural antioxidant, that is estrogen, which could have stopped this by donating electrons, that estrogen is also at an all-time low. So how will this body make up for the loss of electrons that it's rapidly losing because of menstruation? It will do that by borrowing electrons from anyone and anything in its vicinity. Whether it is plants or fruits or another human being, when that comes in touch with a menstruating woman whose body is going through oxidative stress, whose atoms require electrons, the menstruating woman's body will borrow electrons from the neighboring person's body. And then that person's body, this process will start. Electrons come off from that person's body to the menstruating woman's body. So that person starts going into oxidative stress. The reason why traditionally they say if you touch a menstruating woman, go and take bath. Why bath? Because water that falls, water is H2O. It has two unpaired electrons in its molecular structure. So when water falls, it easily releases electrons. So if your body is losing electrons and going into oxidative stress, the way to make up for that loss is by taking electrons from water. So when a non-menstruating person touches a menstruating person, the rule is go and wash yourself immediately, use water, take a bath so that your body does not go into oxidative stress. So then the question is, menstruating women can also pour water on their head, right, and make up for it? No, because during menstruation, you must not try to tamper with what is naturally happening. This process must go on. Water has a property of changing prana, which I will come to in a bit. And even that's why they say, don't even come in touch with water as far as possible. Of course, most women don't do that. They just take a quick bath, but at least not washing the hair. That rule is still in existence for the time when you menstruate. So the reason why women are kept in seclusion and why not touch plates and other things, because metals, when you come in contact with anything that is a conductor, there is a transfer of electrons that happen. Why modern medicine has not understood this in depth or spoken about it as much is because this is not just biology, this is biology plus physics. And that is a realm of quantum biology, which has not yet come into practice in medicine. Whereas with Ayurveda, now I will tell you the Ayurvedic understanding of this. In Ayurveda or in all Indian knowledge systems, we obviously didn't talk in the language of oxidative stress and the body losing electrons. But the equivalent understanding was simply this, that when we menstruate, our body loses prana. That's why we feel more exhausted than other times. Why do we lose prana when we menstruate? Because prana, though it is present all through your body, it is concentrated in the human seed. In women, this is the egg, and in men, it is the sperm, because the seed has to give life. So prana is in its maximum concentrated form inside the human egg. When men lose sperm, they lose prana in a big way. When women lose egg during menstruation, we lose prana in a big way. And when we lose prana, the manifestation of it is losing electrons in the body going into oxidative stress. All right. So when we lose prana, the tendency of the body is to always make up, to absorb prana from its vicinity. So if you touch anything that has prana, like fruits and vegetables, why do we say don't eat stale food or don't eat refrigerated food? If you take a freshly plucked carrot and you take a carrot which has been kept in the fridge for a week, they both look the same, no? But nutrition wise, we'll say always eat the freshly plucked carrot. Why? What is the difference? Even in taste, if you eat a freshly plucked fruit or vegetable versus one that is refrigerated, there is a difference in the taste. The fresh one is tastier. What gives it that taste? What gives it that nutrition? That is prana. When something is fresh, just harvested, it has prana. Anything that is dead is devoid of prana and not good for us. That is why when we say menstruating women should not cook food or touch other things, it is because her body is losing prana, going into oxidative stress, and she will tend to draw prana from everything around her. Now, I want you to try and have a pratyaksha anubhava of this in your next menstrual cycle, in your next period. Just observe how people around you feel when you have your period, especially those of the opposite gender. In my teams, if there are men working with me when I have my period, I distinctly notice that they will be very irritated because their body is going into oxidative stress when they come close to you. And your own body, I feel a sudden rise of prana if I'm in close proximity to another person during my period. I really have to and need menstrual seclusion and menstrual leave. I never have period cramps. I've never had it my whole life. I don't have any menstrual disorder. But with regular practice of yoga and pranayama, you just need to observe how you feel when you are around people during your period versus when you are alone. Just observe it and then you will know what I'm talking about. There is another simple way that you can know this through pratyaksha anubhava. I'm talking so much about prana. Many of you are into Ayurveda and yoga. I know you're familiar with the term. When you sit with your hands like this, close but not touching, sit and observe, you will feel that there is something between your hands, right? You will feel that, especially after dhyana. If you do, you will feel that that's quite expanded. You can keep expanding it till you continue to feel that pressure. Do this exercise during menstruation. You will realize that your pranic field is so wide during that time. You know why? Because your body gains an overall positive charge. Now, positive and negative in physics does not mean positive is good and negative is bad. Wrong. That's just a colloquial language which has messed up our understanding. When we in physics say that atoms have positive charge, we mean that it creates a positive electric field. Electric fields have directions. So positive electric field is always having an outward direction. It's interacting with everything around you. Okay. And a negative electric field comes when there is an excess of negative charge. In general, we are healthier. Our immune system is functioning better if we have either a neutral charge or a negative electric charge. If our charge tends to be more positive, it means the body is going into oxidative stress and our immune system is really getting compromised. So during menstruation, we are losing electrons, oxidative stress is happening, our immunity is compromised. And when we understand at the level of prana, we are basically absorbing prana, that is electrons, from everything in our vicinity. That's why menstruating women, when they're in seclusion, they should be sitting in rooms which are very well aerated. So we can take prana from the air. That won't be excess. That will be just about right for us. Okay. Now water, why they don't take bath? Water has the quality of pulling prana upwards. That's just its nature. If you stand in a shower during your period or you pour water over your head, you will notice that your blood flow will stop temporarily. For the duration that water is falling, your period will stop. And that's because water has the quality of inversing apana and temporarily stopping the period. But if you keep doing that, that inversion of apana will have a bad effect on your menstrual cycle. And that's why if they have to stop the period after the third or the fourth day, then on that day, they'll pour water on the head so that the apana's effect is reduced and the period can stop at that time. But during the first 3 days of your period, don't take my word for it, try it. There are so many women with whom I've done these workshops who have tried it. First 3 days of your period, either don't take a bath. If that's very uncomfortable, then don't take a head bath. And remain in menstrual seclusion. That is, don't come in physical contact with others. And just observe how the quality of your bleeding will change. The cramps will reduce, your discomfort, your irritation, your mood swings, all that will reduce. Okay, so this is the first and foremost thing about menstrual seclusion. And with this, we've also covered about cooking. Now, about cooking, as I said, when we tend to take the prana away from food, the food looks like food, but there's nothing in it. It's like you're eating something that's empty, because prana is what nourishes you ultimately. So you cook it for yourself, it is all right. But when you cook and give it to others, you're basically feeding your family food without prana. Right? Now, if you are someone who anyway regularly uses frozen food which is devoid of prana, then it makes no difference whether you cook during menstruation or you reheat the frozen food. But if you're someone who is very health conscious and you want to make sure that your family eats food that is rich in prana, then avoid cooking during menstruation. And the same goes for touching plants. Someone asked with a lot of emotion that it is ridiculous. Do you know? The tulsi plant has never grown in my balcony. Never. I've tried many things. Sometimes I put water in a plastic sprayer because it would be insulated, and then I stand at a distance and I spray the tulsi plant. It still dies. It still withers away within a week. Why does that happen? But the question is valid, because not everyone can influence plant in the same way. Only people of a certain prakriti will have a greater impact on the plant. During one of my workshops in one of the villages in Karnataka, these were all rural women and grandmothers. So when I was talking about all these, when I was talking about Tridoshas and Prakritis, one woman, or rather a group of women, they shared with me that in their village, there is this traditional practice. Every time the girl gets her first period, she is given a plant. She's given a plant which she has to nurture all through her bleeding days. She has to water it, talk to it, take care of it, and basically take care of that plant during her first period. And then when her period is over, the grandmothers in the village will observe that plant. If that plant dies away, if that plant withers away, then the rule of not watering or not touching plants applies to this girl. But if that plant survives, then the rule does not apply to her. And I have many friends who will go and sit next to a tulsi plant, water it, all of that, and the plant is fine during that time. But with me, it never survives. And even my other hibiscus and other plants, I see that they go into oxidative stress because their leaves start turning yellow when I water it during my period. So I've already explained the phenomenon of oxidative stress. But why is it that not everyone affects the plant in the same way? Is because if you are of a pitta prakriti, pitta dominant prakriti or vata dominant prakriti, and during menstruation anyway vata and pitta are higher than usual, that is when your body tends to not just go into oxidative stress and rob the plants and other things of electrons, but also that you will generate more heat than usual. Because naturally pitta is high during menstruation. And if you are a vata pitta or pitta vata prakriti, the generation of heat in your body is even more intense. I am mainly a pitta dominant person. So when I menstruate, there is a natural tendency of pitta to be higher than usual. And I clearly see that in the way the plants wither away. Now, those who might be of a kapha dominant prakriti, you have the water element that is more. So for you, during menstruation, even though vata and pitta will rise, there is a certain balance that is there because you have a kapha dominant prakriti. So you may not have the same effect on the plant. And it is the same with also the pickle. It is different matter with pickles today, which have so many preservatives in it. Even if you put poison in it, nothing will happen to it. That's a different matter. But in earlier days, when it was all made naturally without preservatives, menstruating women who were especially of the vata and the pitta prakriti, they could cause that pickle to spoil more easily than the other women of kapha prakriti. And this again is an experiment. Make a pickle in the natural way. If you are the Vata or the Pitta Prakriti, you touch it, keep aside one portion of the pickle and you keep touching it during your period and observe it. Observe it and compare it with the bigger bowl of pickle which is remain untouched. Don't expect it to happen overnight like this. Okay, it will take a while. Basically, what you will compare is the shelf life of the pickle that has been touched by especially Vata, Pitta, Prakriti women versus the shelf life of the pickle that has not been touched. Compare it like that and use pickles that do not have preservatives. Again, many women have done this and they have shared this from their own experience. I'll tell you, I use elaichi in chai. During my period, when I touch that jar of elaichi and I take out 1 or 2 elaichi and put it in chai, and after my period, that elaichi, the remaining elaichi has no flavor. It just looks like elaichi. The flavor is completely lost. There's no taste. So I started, if I'm able to predict my period, I just take out a little bit of elaichi and keep it separately. The same with vegetables. Whatever I use for cooking for myself during my period, after my period, if something is left, I just discard it and buy fresh vegetables because it has no taste. They just look like carrot and tomato and beans. There is no taste. Start observing these things. These rules exist for a very valid reason. If you are living alone and cooking yourself, then it is still okay. But even then, start becoming aware of how things look the same, but their essence, their prana has been lost when it comes in contact with a menstruating person. Okay, these you must observe over long periods of time and only then understand it, and not just with yourself. Ask other women to do it because your Prakriti also makes a difference. Those of Kapha Prakriti will have a lesser effect on these things compared to those of a Vata and a Pitta Prakriti. Okay. Now, how and why should we minimize work during this time? And is it practical? Is it not? I'm a working woman. I'm an ambitious woman. I have a career. This is a larger question that women have to answer for themselves first before telling anyone else. What is your priority in life? And what do you want your life to be about? That's the first thing, and only you can answer it. Does exercising and doing extensive work during menstruation affect your menstrual cycle? Yes, it does. Why? Because during menstruation, Vata dosh is naturally high along with Pitta dosh. Now, Vata dosh is what controls all movements. It is what controls your entire nervous system. It is what controls the flow of hormones. And most importantly, Vata dosh also influences your bones. So when Vata dosh is high, for example, during your period, your bone density is less. Your bones are weaker. So sportswomen who do physical training during menstruation are more likely to have injury because their bone strength is reduced because Vata is high. There are studies which show the correlation that there is more chances of injury during menstruation versus during non-menstruation for athletes. Modern science does not know why, but they see that this pattern exists. I have quoted this in a chapter on sports and menstruation in my book. Take any population and do the study. The chances of bone-related fractures, ligament tears, injuries are much higher when women train and practice during menstruation. That is why, if you see the modern day sports women who practice and train all the time because they don't understand anything in depth and because it's all about being equal, although your body keeps telling you that your body is not the same as that of a male body, but still everyone tells you you're the same. So you keep training throughout your period, and what happens? At an early age, they have severe bone-related diseases, osteoporosis, arthritis. Their body is so driven with injury that by the age of 35, 36, they retire, don't they? Do you know how many modern sportswomen do we know who carries on at the peak of their career beyond the age of 35, 36? And most of them have very difficult labor because the Vata is so disturbed. Apanavayu is so gone out of her toss that labor becomes very difficult for them. I have personally interviewed sportswomen And I have found this to be true, and I've written about that. Now, if you compare this with women from traditional Kalaripayattu, martial arts, or Bharatanatyam, or any of the traditional art or martial art forms, we have seen them perform well into the age of 70s and 80s, is it not? So we have Hema Malini, Vaijayanti Mala, we have this Meenakshi Amman Gurukul, who at the age of 75 was wielding a sword in Kalaripayattu. Why? The simple rule in all traditional martial arts and dance is, during your period, you will not train. 3 or 4 days during your period, you will not train. That's the only big rule that they follow. And because of that, their bone strength is maintained, and they're able to continue having a great career well into their years. Today we feel, oh, I'm a career woman. How can I practice menstrual seclusion? How can I not exercise? Is important. But you don't realize that by doing this now, you're cutting short your performance ability by a good 30, 40 years. Just the rule of taking 3 days off during your period will ensure better bone health for you much later in your life too. Now it's up to you to decide, but you should know that this is the reason why that rule exists. Okay. Now, this is most of the things that you have asked, I have covered in this. About menarche celebration. Is it a private affair? Should be publicly announced? The first thing you should know that traditionally, and even today in the villages, when you go, when I do sessions for children in schools, many times the children who are yet to start their period, if you ask them about period or whatever local language, they'll not understand. But you ask them, do you know that there is a celebration for girls around your age? They will all nod. And then you ask them, do you want to celebrate that when it happens, when you become a big girl? They will all nod. They are excited about it. They're looking forward to it. Because in villages, it's a very, very happy occasion. It's only we urbanites who are so confused in our head that we're talking about privacy and this and that. Marriage is the most private affair because you can look at it as a license to have sex. Why do you go around announcing it? We can look at it like that also, right? Why do you go around announcing a marriage and inviting so many people? You're telling the world to come and see that now you have a license to procreate. Is that what you're announcing? We don't look at marriage like that. So why do we look at the menarche celebration like that? And in fact, menarche celebration, you are thanking the gods that Lakshmi is born in your house. You are telling the girl how special you are to come into womanhood. You are inviting everyone around to say, look, my family is so blessed that there is a girl in our house who's now become a Devi. She's become a woman. What is there embarrassing about it? How can we be so confused that we look at this beautiful process as something that is embarrassing? And I've seen even shy and quiet girls really enjoy this first period celebration. And I'll tell you now the science of it. Why do we need to celebrate the first period? I'll tell you from the perspective of modern science itself. There is a part in our brain. It is called the hippocampus. Hippocampus. Its job is to store and retrieve memory. Okay, so let's say you are going on a road. An accident happens. Unfortunately, you meet with an accident. Whatever emotions that you went through during that accident, pain and fear and helplessness, every time, even after the accident, when you go back on that road, the memory of that accident is stored in your hippocampus. And when you go back, it will start throwing that memory and your body will go into a subconscious stress response, similar to the response that you had the first time when that incident happened. That's why we say, I don't like to go to that place. It reminds me of something bad. Similar thing happens even with good memories. Let's say the day your husband proposed to you, there were jasmine flowers in the room and the fragrance of jasmine was there. Every other time when you smell jasmine, you will remember that your husband proposed to you. You will smile with that memory. So hippocampus is the thing that stores the memory and throws it back when a similar incident happens in future also. And your body goes into the same response as what happened the first time. With period also, we call this, by the way, episodic memory. With period, Every month you have an episodic memory of the first period. So if your first period was a stressful one, a negative one of embarrassment, every subsequent period, your body will go into a similar stress response. But if your first period was a happy, joyful, positive one where you felt cherished and loved and blessed by everybody in your vicinity, then every subsequent period, naturally, when the period comes, you will feel happy. You will forget after a while why you feel happy. But the memory of that joyfulness will remain because the hippocampus has stored a happy memory associated with your period. This is the reason why they went to such extent to make the girl feel very special during her first period. There's much more to this. What I have shared is just a glimpse, and those who are interested can read the book. A lot of details about all these are written. So going back to the first question, how do we convince somebody? Please do not convince anyone. But you can tell them, explain the reason, and ask them to have a pratyaksha anubhava and know for themselves. Make people aware of the subtle changes that happen during menstruation. You become aware of it yourself and bring their attention to it. Let them observe how the food tastes different, how the fruits become sweetless, how the plants wither away. Observe it. And the reason for not having salt during period is because salt further induces oxidative stress. That's why you must avoid salt entirely. Ideally, you must avoid salt entirely during menstruation and have just plain khichdi. That is the best thing to clear out all the ama during menstruation. And see, this thing of also not working during menstruation, I've explained how vata will cause bone injury. There's also another thing. During menstruation, your body is clearing out ama. Ama is the internal toxins that collect because of our poor eating and lifestyle habits. If we are not regularly into exercising, then our metabolism is not good enough. If we eat food that is hard to digest, only a portion is digested. The remaining collects as toxins, as ama. So if ama is in excess, it affects our fertility in future. So for women to take care of making sure that we are always better, having better fertility, every month on month, through menstruation, ama is pushed out. How is ama pushed out? If you have excess ama in the upper digestive tract, those girls and women will experience nausea and vomiting. There'll be a lot of phlegm coming out. That is the ama clearing from the upper digestive tract. Those who have excessive cramps and stomach pains during menstruation, that is because they have constipation. That is the ama causing that problem because they have not followed correct diet practices. Those who have loose motions, that is the ama clearing out from the lower digestive tracts. Those who have the skin breaking out into acne, that is ama being cleared out from the skin. So the more menstrual difficulties, whether it is cramps or mood swings or all these physical problems, they are an indication that there is ama in your system, which your body is trying to push out. Now, when your body is in this high maintenance mode, it's like, you've given your car for servicing. While it is being serviced, you are saying that I want to drive it also. You can drive, but it will not move anywhere. It's like that. During your period, you want to work, you can work, but you will not be very productive because there's something else going on here. Your body is in a hyper cleansing mode. All your prana is going downwards. You have no energy. That is not your productive time. You're not proving anything by working at that time. In fact, you're hampering the days after your period. When you don't rest well during your period, the days after the period will also be a drag, will also be a stretch. Personally, I only take leave during menstruation. Today is a violation of that because I'm doing this talk. But I generally don't even take Sundays as a leave because your body does not leave. Your hormones don't need a Sunday off. But during period, all your hormones are at an all-time low. You don't have prana, or rather prana is very low. So during period, you need a leave, not during the other times. And if you take good rest those 3 days, all the other days, you will be hyper-productive. If you don't take rest during your period just to prove that you're equal, then all the other days, your productivity will also just be, okay, so you're just struggling and dragging yourself. All this you will know when you practice these things. Put it into practice, and then the answers will automatically come to you. What you should do, what you shouldn't do. Is it important? Is it a priority? All this will occur to you naturally when you understand how these practices have a direct impact on you. Because it is ancient, don't think it's irrelevant. And this is not just for Hindu women. Among Muslim women, they don't say sit in the namaz position. Do you know why? And someone had asked about yoga. Can you do yoga and exercising? I'll tell you why. When you sit in that position, it's basically Vajrasana. When we sit in Vajrasana, it is to regulate the Samana Vayu and the Apana Vayu. If you do that position during menstruation, the Apana, which is already active, which is already triggered, will be further triggered and you could bleed more. That is why they are prohibited or they told not to sit and not to perform the namaz during menstruation. All yoga asanas, all pranayam, all dhyana, they work on your prana. They work on the pancha pranas. So during menstruation, ideally, you must not do these things. If you are facing menstrual difficulties, the time to fix it is before and after your period, not during your period. If you follow the rules for yoga and pranayam and dhyan properly, which means that you don't do it during your period, then, and you do it on the times other than your period, then you will not have menstrual cramps. Many yoga teachers today have severe menstrual disorders like endometriosis because they do yoga, they do pranayam, they do dhyana during menstruation. You must not do it because it turns prana upwards. There are women from meditation groups who write to me that they have severe menstrual disorders because during their period, they sit for meditation. Oh, meditation, no, it's very light, you can do it. No, what is meditation? What happens in dhyana? You focus on the Agnya chakra. Mind, wherever it focuses, prana goes there. So when you focus here, prana is pulled towards this. And when you keep doing that for hours together during your period, you turn the direction of apana prana. That's one of the reasons, by the way, for endometriosis, because in endometriosis, menstrual blood will have a reverse flow. Whatever your period problem, the way to solve it is not during your period. Leave your body alone during your period. Whatever you have to do to fix it, diet, lifestyle, yoga, exercise, do it when you are not having your period. When you have your period, trust your body's intelligence to take over and let it do its work. That is the best you can do for your body. With that, I will stop. If there is any other important question that I have missed out, Nutanji, you can ask me and I will take it out. Thank you all for being so patient and listening to me.
Actually, when you speak, I don't want to say anything because you are the master and you have been clear enough to explaining all those concepts which I already used to tell all the students during my prenatal course. And I think I keep that group going on. Even if they end with the course, they should update their knowledge, and the people like you whom I also feel like you are master, and I'm also learning from you. So I'm just the bridge connecting my student and my masters. So that's it. If any question, you can see in the chat box, people are writing.
Yeah, I'm looking at the chat box. Yeah. Can you pull out the questions that I haven't addressed already? Yeah.
Yes, there is a question about what is advice for PCOD and menopause, how you interpret. So,
yeah, I'm a medical doctor, therefore I will not give you medical advice, but I will tell you some of the ways in which PCOD might be happening, which if we are aware of it, we can prevent it. So when PCOD happens, what happens is that your ovaries have become dysfunctional. Okay, in the language of our Indian science, if I have to say, there isn't insufficient prana going to the ovaries to make it function. Okay. There isn't sufficient oxygen going to the ovaries to make it function. So a couple of reasons why this happens, simple reasons pertaining from day-to-day life. When we wear clothes that are extremely tight in the region of the ovaries, we constrict blood supply going to that region. And when we are constantly wearing clothes like that, that's why traditional clothes were always loose waist below, whether for men or for women, dhoti, sari, all of this, they're very loose in the lower half of the body. Because when it's very tight and the hip region, the pelvic region is compressed all the time without enough, the oxygen flow struggles. And with that, the ovaries eventually lose prana. Prana is a carrier of oxygen. When your organs don't receive enough oxygen, it means that it is being deprived of prana. And when the ovaries become dysfunctional, PCOD is one of the things. The other thing is when women take to intense spiritual practices, which only work on this higher region, Agnya Chakra. Agnya Chakra connects to the endocrine gland called the pituitary. Pituitary gland is what releases all the hormones that cause menstruation. Okay. Now, when the pituitary gland releases certain hormones, the ovary has to convert that into the female hormone. One of so pituitary releases FSH and LH, and then there is testosterone produced even for women, but in very small quantity. But that testosterone has to be converted by the ovary into the female hormone estrogen. But if you are doing sadhana and temple practices which are only working on Agnya Chakra and not triggering Swadhisthana Chakra, which connects to your ovaries, then from here you're getting hormones, but ovaries are not able to convert it. And ovary is not able to send the feedback to the pituitary saying, hey, enough. So what happens? There is a mismatch. Hormones are coming, but ovaries are not able to regulate it. So for women, the practices should always involve the lower half of their body, whether it is the asana or the chanting or going to the temple, all that should focus on triggering more the Swadhisthana, the lower part, rather than the higher part. Okay, so that's very, very important thing for women to realize. When that mismatch happens, there is more testosterone in the bloodstream. The ovaries are not able to convert, and that's why the masculine features like facial hair, deepened voice, all these go along with PCOD. All these symptoms occur. Right? It's just a generic view of it. Any other?
Yes, ma'am. There is a question. One of my student and teacher of AYG Academy, Manija, is asking that she is attending this session with her husband, and she would like to know about how not to have stressful means her relationship with the husband during PMS and during period, and it is very hard for both of us. That is what she is writing. Can you help her? Yeah.
I'll tell you what I do, and that you can just try that. First of all, you must not have PMS problems if your health is right. PMS should, my period started yesterday. The day before yesterday, I was in such a pleasant mood. I did my yoga, I did my sadhana. I was feeling so good. I didn't even realize my period will come the next day because there were no signs of PMS at all. Some days when I'm not able to do my yoga and sadhana regularly, then PMS happens. So the first and foremost thing I want to tell you, fix your overall health. If you have any other health issue, it will reflect during your period. Period is not a standalone thing. It is an indication of your overall health. So whatever other health issue you have, seek the help of an Ayurveda physician and take treatment for that. Secondly, make yoga, pranayam, dhyana, japa, or going to a temple, any one of these, whatever is most comfortable for you, make it a daily practice, except during your period. Don't do it during your period. Do it every day till your period, but not during your period. If you did that, you should not be experiencing PMS symptoms at all. PMS is an indication that you have not taken care of your health. And then during your period, your husband and you have to maintain physical distance. Your husband's energy is stressed out and irritated because you are going through oxidative stress, and in the process, you're putting him through oxidative stress. Just during your next period, just make sure that both of you are not physically in contact, and you will yourself observe how the moods will change. It's such a simple thing, but I'm glad you brought it out because not many women make this correlation. And if your husband is watching, it is for you also to help out. do the household chores, do the cooking. In South India, all the men take over the household and the kitchen duties during their period. That's why South Indian men cook well. They are forced to learn to cook. It's an understood thing. Woman gets a period, she just leaves everything and she goes and sits in her room. The men have to manage everything after that, including the little boy in the house. And all this is taught during the menarche celebration, actually. That's how they involve men into the whole process. Somehow we lost these things in North India. Men have a very important role to play during the period. Make sure that you do the cooking, taking care of things, and make sure that your partner, your wife, can practice remaining in menstrual seclusion. It will do wonders for both your stress levels and hers. And this I know from personal experience.
Chances of infection increases because of blood, then it would be easy for people to follow this secularism.
Like I said, don't try to convince someone by giving some reason. See, you must do a practice for your own good, and somebody else will do it if it makes sense to them. Don't try to change the world. Let us not become missionaries. So what is it? What is the role of blood in infection, whatever you were saying? Even if you must understand the perspective from blood, I'll tell you what it is. Blood has a certain pH value. The natural pH of blood is around 7.5 to 8. It's quite high. Vaginal area has a pH which is lesser. It is moderately acidic. pH of vagina is 3.5 to 4. When the vaginal pH is maintained at that level, 3.5 to 4, it is very good because it will prevent all the pathogenic, that is disease-causing bacteria. But if you use products which have a lot of, say, fragrance, you have sanitary pads with perfume, right? If you use that, if you use vaginal washes, which are very chemicals basically, then it will alter the pH of the vagina. The minute the pH of the vagina becomes higher, that is when chances of infection become high. This is the first fundamental thing. Vaginal pH 3.5 to 4, moderately acidic, good for you. It kills the disease-causing bacteria. Blood's pH is 7.5 to 8. During menstruation, blood comes in contact with vagina. And the more you use products which collect and store blood in the vaginal region for long periods of time, the more you cause the vaginal pH to go up. So if you use, say, tampons, they collect and store the blood which is continuously in contact with the vaginal walls all the time. And therefore, it elevates the pH of the vagina, making you more susceptible to bacterial infection. Similarly, if you use a sanitary pad which has a plastic layer and it is not breathable, and they say 6-hour protection, 12-hour protection, so you wear it for this long time. Because the blood is constantly in touch with the vagina, it elevates the vaginal period. Whereas if you use any product which does not, or at least allows aeration, white cloth is so great because it allows aeration. And because naturally you can't use it for too long. Every 3 hours or so, 2 to 3 hours, you have to change it. That is good. That will prevent. See, the blood in itself is not what causes the infection. Please understand that. It's not the blood alone. That's wrong reasoning. If the vaginal pH increases because of continuous contact with, and that too deoxygenated blood. Deoxygenated blood. This is not oxygenated blood circulating in your body. This is deoxygenated blood coming out of your body. When that happens, that is when chances of infection are high. So women, I interviewed around 100 women who were daily wage workers who did not use any product. They simply bled into their sari skirt. And they did not have any vaginal infection. Now, if you apply your logic, you'll say, oh, their sari skirt is soaked in blood, they should get infection. No. Why? Because the vagina was not continuously in contact with blood. They were allowing the blood to flow out. I mean, do we really think that we were created in a way that we needed some artificial thing to close our vagina during our period? What we are all doing is unnatural, but we've made our lifestyles in such a way that we can't naturally bleed anymore. We have to use some of the other product. So whatever product you use, at least make sure that as far as possible and as frequently as possible, keep changing it. So this is the way to understand it. Okay.
Many times common question people ask here is also Trustee is asking about menstrual cup is good for use or not. What is your view on it?
This is a very controversial thing, and we can only know it once some studies and other things come out. But from the Ayurveda perspective, it is not just, yes, as someone mentioned about Apana. Ayurveda clearly says that you must not block any of the openings. Even if you feel like sneezing, you must not control it, right? Even if you are someone who feels like farting, they say you must not hold that, because that will suddenly turn the direction of the vata. The air is coming with such force, it will just be forced to turn, and that will create problems. So the vaginal opening is something that must never be blocked, is what Ayurveda says, because over a period of time that could cause inversion of the apana vayu. That's the take of Ayurveda on it. Of course, in the absence of too many studies, it is difficult to tell, but the safest way is the method of our mothers and grandmothers. That is time tested and safe. There's no question about it. The rest is, of course, up to women and how they want to choose.
Correct, ma'am. I would like to request all of you, please buy this book Ritu Vidya, which is Sinu ma'am has on her screen also. It is, you will love reading this. And personally, I have it in my book. And I first, you know what I do? I read whatever book I buy. I first complete that, then only I buy next book. Otherwise, I don't. So please follow this practice. Ritu Vidya is the name of book, Trisha.
You can see the book on my screen here. Ritu
yes.
Vidya. You can just search. It's available on Notion Press, Amazon, Google Books, Kindle, everywhere. Also, Ritu Vidya is not a book of theory. It's a book that women use to apply and to change their menstrual practices and know it directly how it can affect your menstrual cycle. So it's a book of application. So take your time. Read page, 2 page, whatever. Do it in your pace. But read and apply. Read and apply. That is the way to understand it.
Yes. And also, I would like to request all participants. Many times, Sinu ma'am has already mentioned Ayurveda, how the language of Ayurveda. People do not know about when, when we say apana vayu, prana vayu, how they interact, and what is ama, which ma'am has already explained. So those basic concepts are not clear. Even if the things are there, even in book Ritu Vidya, a lot of this language is there, if I'm not wrong, Sinu ma'am.
Yes.
And ma'am also is saying, so I request, if you want to learn more, there is a course of 10 days course to understand this language of basics in Ayurveda, basics of Ayurveda. So it becomes very clear when you read advanced book and related to menstruation, the language comes where the prana, apana vayu, samana vayu, agni, dhatu, and dosha, and prakruti. So many terms are there where you need a basic understanding. So please join this course if you feel interested. It's not that. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Here and accepted this invitation.
Thank you. It's always a pleasure to speak in your company because you understand work so well. So thank you for inviting me. Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you all for your patience.
Also would like to know a little bit about Garbha Sanskar book, which you have
asked me about. So I thought it's time I should also study that. As Dr. Nutan has rightly written, one of the first steps for Garbha Sanskar is to get the Rutu part correctly. Your period should be correct. It needs to start with that. The entire menstruating years of a woman, why there's so much focus given is because that's when you prepare your body. Menstruation clears the ama and improves your fertility. And from there, all the process in Garbha Sanskar will make sense. If itself is not correct, then all the other things you're like just playing catch up. It's like that.
Correct. That is what Smita has asked question. What is the relation between menstruation and pregnancy?
Yes.
Yeah. Correct.
That's, I think Dr. Nutan has also explained that really well, that it needs to start with fixing your period, and that when you decide to conceive, spend at least a year before that fixing your period, fixing your overall health, clearing your body of ama, doing the panchakarmas, initiating a process of yoga, sadhana. I would say not just 1 year before. If you know that this is going to affect your fertility, then make it a daily part of your life. Then naturally the Garbha Sanskars, 2 major portions will get covered, your period and then all the yoga and sadhana and preparation for conception. So do read that book. It offers important insights, and always observe your body. Never do anything because you have going by theory. That everything happened because of your pratyaksha anubhava, your direct experience. And to have that direct experience, you must do yoga and pranayam, so you are able to sense subtler things, subtle changes that happen.
Yes, ma'am. Very well put
Dr.
forward.
Nuthan,
I think we can conclude now. So Maya, can you just conclude this? Yes.
Realize now I made a mistake by not ordering. When ma'am have told us, Nuthan ma'am, she have told us again and again, ek copy rakho, zaruri hai. And today when the author herself told us everything about it, I shall just order it today itself. I'm sure many of my friends would do it right away. And yes, this has to be a Jivan Shaili. It has to be a lifestyle. What you said just now, following the proper lifestyle will help to balance the Vata, Pitta, Kapha and the regularity of the Ritu system. So with this, and thank everyone here, and we end this session. May I, Nuthan ma'am, with the prayer?
Yes, please.
So
we always start this and end with the prayer so that we can complete the whole lesson and absorb it well. Thank you.
So keeping our spine straight, Samakaya Shirogrivam, breath awareness. Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om.
Thank you once again. Please put your feedback on Google page of AYG Academy. And ma'am, many have been already put their gratitude for your talk. Thank you once again, all of you, and wish you all very happy new year. And please practice. Practice makes man perfect. Practice, removes all the doubts, which Sinu ma'am has already given us this insight. And let's start this 2022 with practicing rather than more talk. So philosophy and practice, that is what yoga is all about. So we must carry both together. And I wish you all again very happy and healthy and prosperous new year. Namaste. Thank you, ma'am.